an Instagram handle called @IndependentBlackBusinesses, which has been doing the most for Black businesses recently, has recently come under fire because the owner and manager of the site, Helen, has revealed that she is a white woman. So the people who have been following this handle are angry because they say that Helen has been deliberately hiding her race. And of course, in 2020, we have been saying to our white allies that they need to support the Black community. So now I want to ask you, is it appropriate for white people to own platforms that are for Black people? And if you think it's not appropriate, then are you willing to cancel bigger Black platforms like BET?
Oh, so yeah, I think it's okay for white people to own these brands, to be honest. That might be the unpopular opinion. I think it is okay because I think I see it going both ways. Because if we're saying that someone who is white or not Black can't be the head of a Black platform, are we then saying that a Black person can't be head of a platform that majority is for the indigenous Englishmen? Because there's someone like Edward Einful, who is like the editor of Vogue. Now, he doesn't own it. It's owned by Condé Nast brand, but he's the editor of it. Are we saying because, well, it's really white people that buy it, he shouldn't be the head of it? I think it's probably a dangerous precedent to set, to say that if you're not Black, you can't do it. But I think that there definitely needs to be a lot of Black buy-in, a lot of people that you're working with, partnering with, so that you understand the culture that you're really trying to serve. Because if you're bringing capital to a project as a white person, then maybe that's the reason why there isn't a Black person heading it. If they have the money, but then they want to bring in other people who have the passion, I think it's all right. But what I will say though, in terms of cancelling, I've already told you ladies, I'm not really here for cancelling in 2020. I think too many things get cancelled. So perhaps we can cancel things, but if they're creating opportunities for real opportunities, it's not tokenism, they're not exploiting people, but they're providing real opportunities to people within the community, then no, I'm not going to cancel those big brands.
Yeah, because I saw this on Instagram when she revealed that she was really white, and it was so funny. I can't, honestly, it brings me to laughter even every time I think about it, because it's literally like, I'm so sorry if people are misled, and there's like this picture of her like with a coffee cup. It kills me every time I think about it, because it's so funny. It's so funny.
She was in the wrong. She was in the wrong. She's using Black emoticons. She was in the wrong. I'm not defending her. So I don't make that clear.
Listen, I don't think she was ill-intended, but she's a joker. That's all I thought when I think, my God, you are such a joker. It literally cracked me up. But I do agree with Sophie in that I am not going to throw all my toys out the pram if I find out that a company whose audience is mainly Black people is owned by white people, because most of the time I understand what business is like. It may have been started by a Black person, but it just got acquired by a bigger, larger company, white company, or it went public and board members changed, blah, 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 like whatever goes on with business. So I'm not fussed. I think for me, it's just making sure that the intention is still there behind the product. Like, what was the intention for making this and specifically targeting it towards the Black audience? And then also making sure that not only the intention is there, but it is, I guess, true and authentic is the best way to explain it. The best way is authentic. Because for me, like with BET for particular, like, okay, that was started by a Black man. Now it's owned by Viacom, which is obviously a white-owned company. However, their programming is still mainly Black. So it still feels like the intention what they had intended to do in the beginning is still there, and it still feels authentic. Like, it still feels like BET. My issue comes in when I feel as if companies that are anything that's targeted towards a Black audience that is run by white counterparts is when it feels more like their version of us. Like, does that make sense? Versus our own narrative. Like, for me, months ago, I was talking to my friend, whatever, we were talking about Top Boy. Arguably, people would say, okay, that's something of Black culture because it's mainly Black cast. And he was like, oh yeah, he loves Top Boy, blah, blah, blah. And I like Top Boy. I watched it. It was all good. However, when I told him that actually Top Boy was written by a white man, he lost all his marbles. He was like, what? I was like, yeah, like, didn't you know the white guy, he just went down to Hackney, he spoke to a few gangsters, got understanding of their origin story and stuff, and then he pulled it together as a script and wrote Top Boy, and then he he honestly lost his marbles, and I was like, you didn't know this? Because he's watching this story and thinking, oh yeah, like this relates to my story or whatever, or the black experience, but he doesn't understand that this is a black experience that was written through a white lens, and that made him go, oh, I'm never watching Top Boy again. And I was thinking, but you've been watching all these years, you've been fine. So like for me, I'm still going to be watching Top Boy because I understood already what it was. But for others, I think it's difficult being able to accept that my narrative as a black person is being controlled by a white counterpart, especially if I think it is only celebrating things that are not completely true to me. So that's why I can see why some people are outraged about my girl being white and using the black emoticons, because that was a bit wild. But I'm with Sophie. I don't think things should be cancelled. I think, sometimes you just have to have a better look at things and then decide what part of the fence you want to sit on.
Okay, I have so much to say, but I'm going to just because you guys just
I thought you would. I'm not going to lie. So.
No, but I did before you guys spoke, but now I have two more things to say, but I'm just going to ease it in. Let me just tell you how I feel about the Helen situation first, and then in a bit I'll respond to what you guys have said. But I just think her situation, Helen, who created the independent black businesses, that situation, like so many other situations, just needed transparency. Like it literally just needed transparency. When I read the post about her being, how she's grown since the backlash, to be honest, I was here for it. I was like, okay, cool. She understands where she went wrong. And then, I clicked on the link tree. And I saw that there was options to be a Patreon where you donate money per month. And then she also had a link to her PayPal account. And next to both of these links, there were the words saying, all of the money that you donate will go back into the platform. We intend to normalize buying at black businesses. So now I'm thinking, okay, Helen, okay. So if you intend to normalize buying at black businesses, wouldn't it then be more effective for you as a white woman to be openly buying at these places? And so because of that, I'm thinking one of two things are happening. The first thing that could be happening is that you could subconsciously be thinking that black platforms are for black people only, which would explain the black hand emojis, because you're thinking people who want to shop at black businesses are black people, and that's a subconscious thought. That's why you made those mistakes. Or on the flip side, you could be consciously thinking, I won't be financially supported if people know that I'm white. So there's two ways that it could be going, and the money was the thing that made me think that way. And I think the money is the thing that makes people the most mad, because then we're talking about a profit, right? In terms of what you said, Sophie, because you said like, oh well, she can own this platform if we can have a black editor-in-chief at Vogue.
No. But I said I don't agree with Helen whatsoever. Let me be very clear.
White people can own black platforms in general if there can be black people who own platforms that you gave an example, which is Vogue. But the difference is that what we're supposed to be aiming to do is make shopping at black businesses, make the consumers of black businesses as diverse as mainstream businesses. Like there aren't black businesses and white businesses. There are like black businesses and then mainstream businesses, because actually everyone buys Vogue. There's Vogue Africa, there's Vogue, UK, there's Vogue in every places of the world. And so mainstream consumers are diverse, but consumers of black businesses are actually, they just tend to be more black. So I just think if in my mind, after I read the words that Helen put on the website when she said, we intend to normalize buying at black businesses, if that is true, then I think something that would aid that normalization is her setting an example to other white people by openly shopping at these places, because someone who sees a black owned business is going to just presume that it's for black people exclusively. And that's the thing that we need to be changing.
I agree with that.
I'm not sure the bit where I wasn't really sure what your point was in relation to what I was saying. Because in terms of like the Vogue thing, like there is Vogue in other countries, but if it's going to be Vogue India, chances are it's going to be someone who's Indian. Vogue America is held by Anne forgotten what her name is.
Anna
but
Wintour.
Anna Wintour.
Anna Wintour. So if it's in another country, Japan, those people are the heads. I'm saying someone who is black in a predominantly white country being the head of it, if you see what I mean.
I do, but again, like, these places like the UK and the USA, they're diverse. Like, if we go into Tesco, we're not thinking, who owns Tesco? It doesn't matter, because you'll see black people there, you see brown people there, you see white people there. But then if you have a shop that is a food store that is owned by a black person, maybe white people and brown people are going to think that it's not for them. Do you see the difference? So for me, it's not like there aren't, like, I mean, I'm sure that there are, but we're not talking about companies that have created something specifically for white people. Like, we're talking about mainstream companies, and the consumers of mainstream companies are diverse. And what we need to be doing is diversifying the consumers of black businesses. And so I'm saying Helen had a chance to do that by being a white woman who was openly like, yeah, let's shop at this place and this place and this place, and showing other white people who follow her and white people who respect her, white people who are her families, that this is just another business and you can be shopping here, instead of thinking it's made by black people, only black people are going to be interested. Because I can't think of another reason why she would be using black emojis unless she subconsciously thought this is for black people.
I guess for me, like, I don't even know if I'm really saying something completely different, because I think in terms of the question in regards to is it okay for someone to, I guess for me, I'm just saying, if we're expecting people, like, and I agree with what you're saying, brands should just be open to everybody. Unfortunately, it's not like that, because as you said it again, if it's owned by a black person, people assume, oh, it must just be for black people. But I'm just saying, I don't think that it should be one race should be the head of something, if it's black owned, or if it's like an Asian Goya beans in America, which is Spanish. Well, if it's a Spanish bean, then only Spanish people should be at the head of it. I'm saying I just don't agree with that. So I don't know if I'm saying something different, but I understand your angle.
Yeah. And that reminded me, actually, because that what you said, Anissa, about how your friend was kind of like surprised because he was like, okay, so now my narrative is being told by a white person, and that was like hurtful and confusing to him. So through that lens, like, I understand why people might have an issue with it, because our representation is so fragile, because it aids so many other things in our lives. And so I think that we're sitting here and we're open and we're like, hey man, so long as we can have a seat at your table, you can come and eat with us. When I actually don't think the attitudes are as inclusive on the flip side, if that makes sense. So that's maybe where I feel like,
So do you mean, are you basically saying that, like, we're saying with our black businesses, we don't mind to have white counterparts come in and run it, but maybe our white counterparts they're not as open for us to come in and run it?
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
Because look how...
I agree with you.
And remind me of his name, Sophie, the editor of Vogue. The guy,
Edward Einford. He's the first black editor of this one.
Yeah. He was the first in like 2018, 2019. So with us, it's like we're working so hard. We're trying to push down these barriers. We're trying to break through these ceilings just to have one in all of the years that Vogue has been running. Vogue US has been running for 127 years. That's one. Do you know what I mean? And then so on the flip side, I understand why people think, okay, well, we always say if we can't have a seat at the table, we're going to make our own table. And then people walk over to the other table and they're like, even this one that is supposed to be for me is controlled by someone else. So I understand people's reservations. I'm still on board with everyone being involved in everything, but I don't think that the playing fields are even right now. So I understand why people have an issue with it.
Yeah, I don't think the playing fields, I don't think it's level ground at all. And the thing I would probably say is for these black platforms, or if you call yourself a black platform, or if you call yourself a black business, then we as black people need to get out and support it, because it's no good us creating our own tables and things like that if people aren't going to buy in. Because a lot of times it's like, start it, but it's kind of like, actually, I'm going to need the support of the community to get this started, because if people only see you as a black brand, you're first going to have to probably build yourself up within the community before you can even start to mainstream. So yeah, buy black.
But I think that's another issue, Sophie, because then people want to intentionally be buying black and then they find out that they're actually not. Because we're talking about where we spend. We know now, we're smart enough to know that every click, every show that you watch, everything that you buy, it goes to a wider purpose. And so now people are trying to be intentional with where they put their money. And so people are trying to be like, this is, a black owned business. Let me watch BET. Or this is a black owned platform. Let me follow independent black businesses. And then they find out afterwards, or like, let me watch Top Boy. They find out afterwards that it's not. And then but I
think that's where it comes back to your point, Luanda, about I think if there's more transparency, then hopefully it wouldn't spark as much outrage.
Yeah, transparency is key. Everyone just be transparent, because I'm here for Helen. Like, run your business, run your platform, but just be a white woman running it. Don't be a faceless Instagram. Just, do you know what I mean? Like, I think it does more. I think.
Yes. No, I'm just not here for Helen, guys. I'm sorry. The emoticons is where she lost me. She lost me.
I don't think I honestly don't think she was ill intent. I just think she just was confused at best. Honestly, I don't think it was ill intent. I really don't.
Sophie's face.
I just... Guys, I'm sorry move on, because I ain't got nothing else to say. Let's just move on.
Okay. Well...